All right, folks, it is, if I can find my microphone here, it is 6 PM. It is Tuesday, July 28th, 2026, and we are in the council chambers of the city of Platteville, and I am calling the regularly scheduled meeting of the council to order. So we'll start with roll call, Craig.
Bob Gates. Here. Brian Wisnap.
Here.
Stephen Badger.
Here.
Kathy Kopp.
Here.
Tony McFall.
Here.
Barbara Doss.
Here.
And Lynn Parrott is excused.
Okay, first item on our agenda tonight then is a special presentation. We don't actually want to hear that it's already welcome weekend. Really? You're getting there, huh? And this is Abigail.
Hi, everyone. Pardon my dress tonight. I just bought a house, and so every night is dedicated to painting, so this is my little break from that. So I'm here to talk about Welcome Week. It is upon us. We're about a month away. The summer has flown by. I don't know about how you feel about it, but I feel like yesterday the students just left. But we're really excited. Something different this year, and actually next year too, is that Welcome Week will fall the week prior to Labor Day. So we have our new students moving in Saturday, August 29th. We have about 1,200 new freshmen to expect that are either moving in or commuting, so we're really excited about that. The schedule really is very similar to previous years, although we do have a 4-day welcome week versus a 3, so that does change a little bit of the programming that we're doing. So you'll see on Saturday, August 29th, we're doing a lot of things on campus, welcoming students with their parents and things like that. I want to draw your attention to the kickoff, class photo, and play fair. That is how we wrap up their first day and evening. That is on the East Turf practice field on the east side of campus. We do have outdoor amplification at that event. We take our large class photo there, and then our students participate in what is kind of like a large icebreaker type of event. So expect some noise with that. We get about 700 to 800 students attending that on that Saturday evening. Sunday, we do have continuing students move in, so our sophomore, juniors, seniors that are living on campus can move in starting Sunday, August 30th. We've got some things happening on campus. Our Residence Life team is doing a block party with the traditional residence halls, so if you're familiar with kind of where Morrow and Dobson and Porter and Melcher Hall are, that general area of campus, in the middle of the day we'll be having kind of some outdoor games and things like that. We also have a event called Bridge Fest that's outside Bridgeway Commons near Sesquicentennial Hall, and we have about 60 to 70 student organizations. Additionally, with outdoor amplification, we have our studio radio station that will be there, so expect kind of some large festival style atmosphere there on campus. And then we wrap up the day with our event Paint Glow, which does go a little bit into the evening. It is on campus near the block residence halls and Glenview Commons, if you're familiar with where that is. It's where we have a live DJ on campus, and we basically are spraying students with paint. We get about 700 students out to that event. We're trying to wrap it up around 10:30, so hopefully we don't keep anyone up for work the next day, but we do really love that event, and students love it too. Going to Monday, August 31st, again, we have students continuing to move on to campus. So our, again, sophomores, juniors, seniors. We have a lot of different events happening that day. A lot of things, actually almost all of them are indoors, so there shouldn't be anything too crazy happening on our outdoor spaces that day. Hopefully, if the weather's warm, we can be enjoying the air conditioning that day, which would be great. And that's kind of where we're adding some filler programs because we have that 4-day welcome week. Tuesday, September 1st is the day before classes begin, and we have a couple different events that we do normally. Some of them are indoors, some of them around campus. The two at the very end of the day get the scoop on Greek life. Not quite as loud, but it is. Several of our fraternities and sororities on campus just serve ice cream and toppings to students that are interested in getting involved within their organizations, and that happens around the Morrow Dobson Hall area. And then we do wrap up the kind of whole welcome week the day before first day of classes with Pizza Palooza and outdoor movie. We're super excited. We have 4 local businesses that are going to be at Pizza Palooza this year, which is super great that we can introduce those pizza places and pizza businesses to our students. And then we show an outdoor movie. So we will be on the north lawn, just north of the marquee, kind of between Doudna and the art building, playing that. And that we're hoping to start the movie around 8 o'clock and end it by 10 p.m. It's about an hour, I think, in 30 minutes at the most. So that kind of wraps up all of our Welcome Week events. A lot of things happening. We've already submitted the things on campus that we need for our outdoor amplification. But if there's anything that anyone has questions about, specific events on here, when to expect students, things like that, any questions from anyone?
This looks like a great 4 days, and thanks for the detailed schedule.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And do we know what the movie is?
Yes, we do. The movie, the students voted on it all summer at orientation, and they narrowed it down to Step Brothers. So that is the movie by far and large that they wanted to see. So that is what we're showing for them.
You've seen this movie, huh? Okay. You've seen this movie, Tony? Oh.
It beat Scooby-Doo.
Everybody.
So
Well,
yeah.
all right.
I just-
Step Brothers.
Yep.
Kathy, maybe we should go that night.
Maybe.
We could probably fit right in.
I was hoping
When
for
did they
Animal
want-
House.
No, we were there.
You're right.
Yeah. Awesome. Any questions?
No,
Awesome.
we're looking forward to having students back and
Yes.
and faculty and staff.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Good.
Yeah, it's a great way to welcome everyone back. It just makes it feel like very vibrant and everything's, back at Platteville. So
All right.
cool. Thank you.
Well, happy painting.
Thank you.
Good luck with that.
Okay, let's move on then to the public hearing that is scheduled tonight. We have Resolution 26-09, home occupation for 1070 Princess Court. We'll start with staff presentation.
Okay, yes, the applicant recently purchased the property at 1070 Princess Court, which is a single-family home. It will obviously continue to be primarily as a residence, but she would also like approval to use the property for dog grooming business. So she previously lived in the Platteville area. I'm not sure exactly, but in the area, and did dog grooming for the last couple of years. Would like to continue to do that business in her new home. So this would be considered a Class 2 type home occupation, which basically means there's clients or customers of that business that regularly come to the property as part of that business. So that does require approval of that use as a conditional use. Obviously, it's still going to be primarily single-family residence, but she will have a space in the basement, basically a separate room with its own entrance from the back that will be used for the dog grooming. So the appointments will be set up beforehand. The customer will basically park in the driveway. She'll have a little sidewalk that goes down to the back to get into the dog grooming location. So basically one at a time. There might be a slight overlap. One's getting picked up while another one's getting dropped off, but generally one dog at a time. No other employees coming to the property. It would be just her as the groomer. So the ordinance allows home occupations no more than 25% of the residents. She'll be well below that. Maximum hours of 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. unless altered by council. Her proposal is 8 to 4 Monday through Friday, so she'll be well within those guidelines. As I mentioned, there is parking available. The only exterior change to the property, adding the sidewalk, as I mentioned, and she will have a small sign, at least initially, to kind of direct people to find that entrance door. Otherwise, everything will be done inside of the residence. So very little impact or change to the property itself. So the Planning Commission did consider this request and recommended approval. It meets all the conditions outlined in the ordinance, so I would also recommend approval. Any questions?
I want just real quick. You said the ordinance. I'm reading from the description. Said the ordinance states that home occupations shall occupy no more than 25% of the residence. What does that mean?
What, the amount of floor area of the property,
So if it was 1,600 square feet, it
Yeah.
couldn't be more than 400.
The business can
the
be.
business part of it. correct.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
That's what I thought it meant, but anyway. Okay, thank you.
Joe, does a conditional use permit, is it the applicant's permit, or does this conditional use apply to the property?
Well, obviously the applicant is the one that's requesting it, but it would stay with the property and continue as long as the conditions have been met, or would continue as it's been requested.
So
The only
it could be a different owner, it could be,
Change in
it
ownership
could be
does not change
25,
that.
30, 40 years.
As long as it's continued to operate as is, but if it does discontinue for a period of a year or more, then any future use would have to reapply.
The next part of a public hearing is the applicant statement. We don't have an applicant.
See her here this evening.
Pardon?
I don't see her, so.
I don't see her either. Okay, we have no applicant statement. Public statements, I've had no one register to give a statement in favor. I've had no one register to give a statement against, and I've had no one register to give a statement in general. So that would mean we're done with 3, 4, and 5. So we're on to number 6, council discussion.
I think we discussed it last time. I don't have any other questions.
If we're done with
Pretty
that
straightforward.
one, then we're on to number 7, close the public hearing. I would need a motion.
Make a motion that we close the public hearing on Resolution 2609 for 1070 Princess Court.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Steve and a second by Brian to close the public hearing. Craig will vote.
Gates,
Yes.
Wisnett,
Yes.
Badger,
Yes.
Cop,
Yes.
McFall,
Yes.
Doss.
Yes.
Motion carries.
And number 8 is common council action.
Make a motion to approve a conditional use permit for a type 2 home occupation at 1070 Princess Court to allow a dog grooming business.
Second.
We have a motion by Bob and a second by Steve. We'll vote. Craig?
Gates,
Yes.
Wisnet,
Yes.
Badger,
Yes.
Cop,
Yes.
McFall,
Yes.
Doss.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, next item on our agenda is consideration of the consent agenda. The following items may be approved on a single motion and vote due to their routine nature or previous discussion. If you want separate discussion or action, please let me know on any of these items. Council minutes from July 14th regular meeting, payment of bills. I have no appointments tonight to boards or commissions. Licenses, as were in your packet, there were one for a 1-year operator license and one for a 2-year operator license. And then we have a homecoming parade permit, this one for Friday, August 2nd. This is the Platteville High School homecoming parade, and I believe they do Main Street in the afternoon. So this is for 2 to 3. You look. Did I say August? October 2nd. Yeah, I could have said August. Yeah, nope, October 2nd. So we have October 2nd as the Platteville High School, and then we have October 10th as the UW Platteville. Okay. So, do I hear a motion?
Make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as stated.
A motion by Steve and a second by Brian to approve the consent agenda. Craig will vote.
Gates,
Yes.
Wisnet,
Yes.
Badger,
Yes.
Cop,
Yes.
McFall,
Yes.
Doss.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next, we have citizens' comments, observations, and petitions, if any. And it says, please limit to 5 minutes. Brian, I'm going to let you steal the thunder on the airport pancake breakfast.
Went off Sunday and it was very well attended. I didn't get there until about 10:30, but I understand that it was foggy in the first part and then that lifted. It was hot, but we had a number of airplanes came in, I think more than they expected. And I don't know, I didn't hear how much money they made, but by the time I got there, there was trucks lining both sides, a lot of kids crawling around airplanes, and a lot of interest, so it was good. I was really pleased.
It was. I went. Bob?
Well, I believe we have one citizen who's filling out the green card right now.
Oh. Okay. Well.
They don't have to be.
You don't have to be.
Yeah.
They don't have to be related to the airport. This is any citizen comment,
Yeah, just bring it.
observation, or petition. I just asked him to talk about the airport.
Yep, they can be on anything.
I mean, yeah. Yeah. Kathy?
Have little brochures here. I'd like to promote the Grant County Fair. That's August 19th through the 23rd. The theme is totally 250th with red, white, and blue. 5 days of just jam-packed stuff going on. So if you want your first taste of the Optimus cheese curds, it's a good time to go. But there is a major change that the committee made. Parking is free, which it always has been, but this year admission is free. So bring your families and come on out.
And you can buy an all-event grandstand ticket for $60.
Yes,
There we go.
and that's a deal.
Okay. And so, Michael Lambert has asked to speak. Michael, you'll need to come to the podium. So you'll state your name and your address in Platteville, and then you're speaking for information purposes only.
Okay, hello everyone. My name's Michael Lambert. You wanted me to state my address. I live at 340 North 3rd Street here in Platteville.
Okay.
So I put together just like this one-page document. The subject of this comment is the flock safety cameras that are currently just outside of town on Highway 151 in Platteville and at the intersection of Highway 81 and Main Street. And so I'm sorry that I don't have enough copies here for everyone. I just made enough for the members. But basically, this is just kind of a broad overview on like what flock safety cameras are, how they're different from like more traditional CCTV type cameras, and like why they're somewhat controversial. There's also included on this list like other locations throughout the state of Wisconsin that have ended their contracts with this company for various reasons. Some of the topics include like trust and transparency issues, whether these cameras are even effective, what they're making claims to do is unproven. And so, yeah, I'm not sure that this council ever actually was able to vote on whether these cameras would be put in. They're going up kind of all over the place, all over the United States. There's an interactive map online that you can use that shows you exactly where these cameras are located. I think the number is between like 90 and 100,000 of them. Really, like the basic difference between a flock safety camera and like a traditional CCTV camera is that a flock safety camera is like an active versus a passive system. So I think, for example, you can do a search based on the images that a flock camera is gathering compared to a CCTV camera, which is just something that you could go back and like manually review. And so tons of issues with this company. Some cities and municipalities have even gone into litigation after choosing to end their contracts with this particular company. I think they're doing like cease and desists. And so I was kind of shocked to learn that these cameras were actually already present in our community. And so I wanted to bring it to the attention to the council just because I thought it was something that was worth like knowing the information about, because again, like I didn't know all of this information before, learning about it myself quite recently. So, questions? There are two located on Highway 151 just north of town, and then there are another two of these cameras at the intersection of Highway 81 and I think the top of Main Street. That information I gathered just from an
I mean,
interactive map.
by the English Lutheran Church?
Highway 81 and Main Street.
Oh, that would mean by the library.
I learned a little bit, and since you contacted me.
Yeah,
And if I could just share that, please.
of course.
The Platteville Police Department does not have a direct relationship with Flock, and they're not seeking any type of partnership or subscription at this time. The cameras outside the city are actually were put there by the Richland, Iowa Grant Drug Task Force. And so the only time we would ever use them would be to contact the lead agency to obtain information for investigative purposes. So it's, I guess, the Richland, Iowa Grant County or Grant Drug Task Force that installed those cameras. And I was talking to someone else, and any cameras we have that capacity, we don't use that feature.
The searchable
But we
feature.
don't use them, but somebody can.
Somebody might, but I know some of the cameras that we have, and Lieutenant Resler, is that correct?
Sorry. We do have license plate reading cameras in the city. They're accessible by those of us that would have access to the RECORE system is what we use. So only those of us at the police department have access to that. There are ways for us to monitor who is logging in, when they're logging in, and what they're searching. So we do have those protections in place for our system.
But yours are license plate readers.
Yes.
They're not, this one says it would do facial recognition.
No, ours don't do that.
Is that local data? Is that data you captured local only, or is that
Yes.
shared?
It's captured locally only.
Okay.
It's not Flock.
No.
Isn't Flock actually a brand name?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's a private company that's aggregating data and then using that, selling that data. And that's not what these are.
That's not what she's.
That's
referring
not
to.
what we
That's not-
have.
That's not what we,
That's not what we have in
Michael
the
is
city.
talking
Right.
about that has been installed
that he's concerned about.
on
And
on somewhere on 151.
Correct.
Yeah.
I've heard the same things from other communities that are very concerned with the
Private,
privacy issues
right.
that come about as a result of these cameras.
Right.
And the use, how they're being used.
How they're being used and how they're and
Right.
how the data is being
Right.
aggregated. All right, maybe at some point in time in the next 2 or 3 months, we can have a report from the police department on just what kind of cameras we have and what we use. And I don't actually know who's in charge of the task force. It comes out of, it would be a county level thing. So maybe Kathy,
I will check.
yeah, you can check.
Yeah.
Kathy's on the county board, so she can check. All right, well, thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, any other comments? All right, then let's move into the reports portion of the agenda. Several this time. Library Board, Bob?
Nothing new. Thank you.
Community Safe Routes, Steve, anything?
Nothing to add.
Plan Commission, Bob? Or me,
Oh.
nothing?
Nothing really other than
Airport?
the dog.
Nothing else.
Water and Sewer? No.
Significance.
Parks, Forestry, and Rec?
No, nothing to add.
Okay. Then we'll move into the action portion of our agenda. The first is contract 23-26. This is various buildings roof replacement 2026. Howard.
Okay, thank you. These are for roof replacements due to the 2025 hailstorm. We had bids opened on July 14th. There were 2 bidders, Bel Air Home Restoration and Heinz Contracting. Actually, there are 31 locations, not 32, but this does not include the pool buildings. The bathhouse, concession stand, and maintenance building were completed under the pool contract with funding from the insurance payment. Staff is recommending that we pay the upcharge for converting asphalt shingle roof to metal roof in 3 locations: the Legion Field concession stand, Smith Park Stone Shelter, and the Mound View Park Shower Restroom Facility. We did get a payment for the actual cash value for the roof on the street department garage. It was installed in 2023. The installer inspected the roof, said the roof is fine, plus it has a warranty to cover damages. And we are recommending this funding be better put to better use elsewhere. The only risk is if there's catastrophic damage to the street department garage in the near future, we would only get cash value of the building less the roof insurance payment. Our budget and fiscal impact showing here, we have their base contract, $506,400. The additional cost for metal roof with bonding costs and the additional to the contract. So what we're saying is, as staff is recommending, we're recommending a total cost for Bel Air of $581, $548.50. Just so that you understand where some of the other insurance money has already gone, I've shown here the pool buildings that I've talked about that have already been paid, that we've already paid for, the engineering fee for STRSTEG, the folks that have been helping us, and we've got roughly $7,000 for Legion Park lighting. The hailstorm damaged the lighting themselves, so they'll be doing that. So our total costs would be $726,000 compared to the insurance payment of just under $957,000. We do need to keep a small contingency for unknown conditions, but I do recommend that we award to Bel Air Home for the base bid and the 3 metal roofs for that $581, $548.50. I placed on your desk the list of the different locations that are being worked on, and you can see the upgrade to metal roof in the 3 locations in the Parks Department. On the back has water and sewer. Down at our water resource recovery facility, wastewater plant, there are a total of 8 buildings that are getting roofs done, but they're considering it one location. So that's what we have right now. If you have specific questions about specific buildings or other things, Shannon is here. He went with the inspectors and knows specifically what damage was done to specific buildings, but I think we're in good stead right here, so I'm recommending that we award the contract.
Okay, does anybody have questions? But I just have one. The 956, 957, 69 does not include the 271, 155, 38. Is that correct?
The 271 is part of that 956 that we got paid.
Okay, it is part of that.
Yes.
Okay.
So
So it's not 956 plus 271 that we got paid? No,
That's correct.
that's part of the 956.
The-
Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify.
Okay. Yes.
So if I'm reading this right, we got 956 total with 726 max expenditure. You got about a $200K contingency fund out of that then, right?
Or for other purposes. Yes.
And those other purposes would be brought to us for approval.
Yes.
And, if you're going to speak, you have to come to the microphone, Shannon.
Just as a side note, I didn't tell Howard this, but the city is going to do some other siding, like the concession stand, it's got some siding on the gables. The salt shed needs new siding, so we just wanted to lump everything for roofs with the Bel Air, and then we were gonna take care of the smaller stuff. That stuff, the adjuster wants us an itemized bill of those locations and a labor total of what those would be as well. So I'm guessing it would be under 40 or $50,000, but
So is that part of the 956 then? Is that where you're gonna, out of that 200,000 separate, that's where you're gonna buy those supplies and?
yes, yes, that's correct.
So if the insurance company wants that itemized for those extra items, and it's coming out of that 956, when we get done and we finished everything, that leftover money goes back to the insurance company, it sounds like?
No, this is the actual cash value. Some of those we can get more monies for, but most of them went in between the cash value and the RC value. So
Okay, all right, I
that money
wasn't
is
sure where
ours
you
no
were
matter what.
Okay, I got it. Okay, thank you.
I have two questions. The metal, upgrading to metal roofs. I just know that when the hailstorm happened at our home, we found out that we wouldn't have covered if we would have had a metal roof. Is So
Correct.
I mean, has our insurance company verified that if we replace the metal roofs and there's damage, that they replace them?
No, they would not replace them because it's cosmetic. It's written in within your documents of your insurance coverage. That's a different clause in there, but none of our metal roofs, besides Zabrowski Center, we got a claim from for damage.
And then one other question, when I see the list, I'm wondering why the Mound View Park shelter is getting no, I mean, it's in tough shape anyway, but
No, the restroom shelter, not
This is the shower restroom. That's
no,
the
no,
Milton
I'm
Road.
talking about the picnic
The
shelter.
picnic shelter.
the picnic shelter is not getting touched.
Oh, is that a future CIP project or any plan at all? Sometimes I'm a little leery of even walking under there. It's like,
Yes, I think that's a definite plan in the future.
just a question.
I'm just curious what the significance of pool building already paid is. Just a reference that we've already put that money out.
Yes,
So
as,
if we're going to change something, that can't change. That's done.
that part's already done.
Got it.
It's just, I'm just doing, I included it here to account for how much money we have paid or will be paying in total.
So it looks like if you take the insurance payment and you take off the costs, it looks like we're down to $230,000, not 271. So it looks like we've already spent 40 of that, 271.
Probably.
Probably.
And is somebody tracking that?
Yes, we're tracking it. There's certain line items that track the monies going out. I think Nicola has created some numbers that we can track that, so.
A large part of this is the work that SCG is doing, and the bid process and identifying those items in the bid package as well. So, but yes, we are tracking it.
So you can give us a total, at the end, that'll show that. And all of the things that money went, that 956,000 went for. Okay. Okay.
One final quick question, timeline.
I
I
think-
know you're a part of it, and my specific question is, because there's things at the Brodsky Center and Legion, just so that it doesn't interfere with Dairy Days.
Yeah, we'll make a note of that. I think they anticipate starting very soon, within the next week or two. And I think they're hoping to get done by November 1st or they're shortly
But
thereafter.
it won't disrupt
No.
activity on Dairy Days, yeah. Okay.
All right, we have a recommendation to award the contract for contract 2326 for various building roof replacement projects to Bel Air Home Restoration at a bid price for $581,548.50. Do I hear a motion?
To award contract 2326, various buildings roof replacement 2026 to Bel Air Home Restoration LLC for the base bid and 3 designated alternative metal roof installations for $581,548.50.
I'll second.
A motion by Steve, second by Kathy. Craig will vote.
Gates,
Yes.
Wisnap,
Yes.
Badger,
Yes.
Cop,
Yes.
McFall,
Yes.
Doss.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next item on our agenda is the sidewalk cafe permit for 35 North Second Street. Joe?
Yeah, so the sidewalk cafe permit is for the 1906 Tavern, 35 North Second Street. So we've talked about this before. They'd like to place 5 metal tables, 10 chairs out in front of the building along the curb side of the sidewalk. They would also have some plastic fencing, kind of freestanding fencing that would just delineate the area a little bit better. It's not a code requirement or an ordinance requirement. They have the fencing. That's something they are proposing to do. The request meets all of the standards, at least as we can dictate so far from the sketch. I think the one item that we really need to decide yet is whether we want to put it next to the curb or have them put it next to the building, which is kind of more the standard way that we haven't done a lot of these, but usually they're next to the building. They do have room. It's kind of a wide section of sidewalk there, so they do have some flexibility on where they locate it. There's no parking along that section of curb, so we don't really have to worry about, parked vehicles of being an issue. So I think it's just a matter of if we want to change from kind of the Plan Commission recommended approval. I think they took the view that if the business next door applies and it looks like there's going to be some congestion, that we'll ask them to move it back towards the building.
We'll ask who to move it back. I can't hear you.
The current applicant for
So if there's
1906.
an issue, we will be asking the current applicant,
Right.
if we approve this, to move their
As a-
back.
in my opinion at least, the other buildings along that section of Second Street, we wouldn't want them to be next to the curb because there is parking there and it would interfere with. So we would want those, if they ever apply, to be next to the building. So if we want consistency, if we get to that point, we would ask these folks to move theirs back next to the building. And I did talk to Nick, the owner, and Andrew, the on-site manager, and they're fine either way. They just had some customers asking if they would consider it, so they submitted the application. They just want to provide that opportunity for some of their customers, but they would be okay either way.
But they're aware that if somebody else applies, they might have to
I told
alter
them
their
if it becomes
location.
a conflict, we might ask them to
Okay.
relocate their.
Thank you for talking to them.
Mhm.
Okay, any other questions? Joe, you said the licensing committee reviewed the application and recommended approval. Do we know when that happened? I mean, it hasn't happened recently.
We have not recommended approval. We've talked about it, but the actual request has not been submitted because the sidewalk cafe permit has not been awarded yet.
So in the background then, that even if they get this tonight, then they
They-
still have to come to the
correct.
license committee.
Correct.
Okay.
And then that would have to come to the council.
Okay,
Feeding this to death.
yeah.
Quite.
I just want to make sure we know what the process is.
Yeah.
Okay, we have an application for a sidewalk cafe permit for 35 North Second Street. We've talked about anybody with any further questions. Then
Make a
do-
motion.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve a sidewalk cafe permit on the public sidewalk in front of 35 North Second Street as proposed in the application materials and subject to the conditions of section 4.07 of the municipal code.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Craig will vote.
Gates,
Yes.
Wisnap,
Yes.
Badger,
Yes.
Cop,
Yes.
McFall, Doss.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, next we have a group of ordinances. I think that we're looking for change to. We have ordinance 26-10. This is amending chapter 4 of the municipal code, granting authority for enforcement to code compliance coordinator regarding streets, alleys, and sidewalks. I guess we'll take each one of these separately. Do we want to discuss them all at the same time now? Because the next one is probably similar. Again, well, maybe it's not. Let's just take 26-10 first. Authority for enforcement to the code compliance officer. Andrea, are you taking this?
So we've recently had discussions with Howard and Joe and code enforcement. We are somewhat combining the code enforcement duties and the community service officer duties. We do have Rowan White here who will be the, and I don't say this right, the code compliance coordinator. So that will be Rowan's primary task. She's been with our police department about a year now. And so she's getting caught up on what has been done. And as we were looking at changing where this position is housed, we got to look in specifically at the ordinances, and the police department itself did not have authority to issue citations for some of these code violations. So what we're doing here is allowing the code compliance coordinator to enforce those and issue citations as needed, and take the necessary steps to have those violations remedied.
Okay, any questions? Then do I hear a motion? Yeah, oh, okay.
I think it came up last time, but is the intention to wait for citizens' complaints prior to doing things, or is the intention to go out and search for code compliance issues?
You gotta go up to the podium.
Yeah, say your name though.
Hi, my name is Rowan White, and I am now the Code Compliance Coordinator with the City of Platteville. The question was if this was complaint-based primarily, or if my position would be going out and searching for them, and the answer in short is both. In the time where I'm not performing the community service officer duties, I am going around and checking on houses that had been warned about or needing following up. And in that time, I'm also looking for violations. Does that answer your question?
Thank you. Any other questions? Then do I hear a motion?
I move to approve ordinance 26-10, amending chapter 4.02, 4.03, and 4.09B of the City of Platteville Municipal Code to add a designee for the enforcement of these ordinances.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Brian and a second by Bob to approve the ordinance 2610, amending chapter 4 in 3 different places. Craig will vote.
Gates,
Yes.
Wisnap,
Yes.
Badger,
Yes.
Cop,
Yes.
McFall,
Yes.
Doss.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, next, ordinance 26-11, amending Chapter 5 of the Municipal Code, Health. Andrea?
This goes along the same lines in order for us to be able to enforce. So Rowan alone will not be looking for these violations or helping with some of enforcement and correction of that. We do have several other CSOs that will be on duty throughout the school year. And then our officers have also been informed of the changes so that they can assist if one of them, the code compliance coordinator or the CSOs, are not available, so that we will be taking over those duties in order to take enforcement action if necessary. We need some changes in the language of the ordinance.
Okay, and this is primarily about weeds, burning refuse, garbage and refuse accumulations and junk vehicles, swimming pool fences, clear water drainage, and then there's a section on penalties and enforcement. Questions? Do I hear a motion?
Sure. I move to approve ordinance 2611, amending sections 5.03, parentheses 3, 5.06, and 5.03, parentheses D of Chapter 5 of the City of Platteville Municipal Code to authorize enforcement by the Weed Commissioner, Director of Public Works, or their designee as applicable.
Okay, motion by Bob, second by Brian to approve the amendment of section 5 of the municipal code under this. We'll vote, Craig.
Gates,
Yes.
Wisnam,
Yes.
Badger,
Yes.
Cop,
Yes.
McFall,
Yes.
Doss.
Yes.
Motion carries.
And we have 2612, amending chapter 24 of the municipal code, Fire Prevention and Protection Enforcement Authority. Again, Andrea.
This is along the same lines where we in the police department did not have the authority to issue some citations for some of our open burning, people leaving their recreational or their, if they have a fire pit in the yard, leave it unattended. Technically, the police department did not have the authority to issue a citation for that. So making some changes in the language so that the police department can take those enforcement actions as we see the violations.
Anything to add, Ryan? Okay. I guess you didn't want to get called out at 2 in the morning because.
Yeah, as it read right now, I've pretty much left it in my responsibility to do it, and better to let them be able to enforce those interactions.
Okay. Anybody with questions? Then do I hear a motion?
I make a motion, I move to approve ordinance 2612, amending chapter 24 of the City of Platteville Municipal Code regarding enforcement authority.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Steve and a second by Bob. Wondering if we're awake, but that's okay. We're going to vote, Craig.
Gates,
Yes.
Wisnam,
Yes.
Badger,
Yes.
Cop,
Yes.
McFall,
Yes.
Doss.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, next we have the Land Use Restriction Agreement. This is for the non-state grant for local projects that was received by the museum. Kaz?
Perfect. So last council meeting, we discussed this item. Now it is up for action. We have Dee here tonight to give us a little bit of an overview of it. And essentially, this is a document that council needs to pass in order to be awarded this grant. So Dee?
I am Dee Wolf, and I live at 390 South Court Street, and I am the secretary for the Friends of the Mining and Raoul Jameson Museum, and we are the fundraising arm. We've been looking to do some updates of things in the museum to the office space and to make it a more welcoming space for visitors. And we had this great opportunity to get this non-state grant for $142,000. And we have to match it, of course. And you were given the plan to show what we would be doing with that. And with that, then we would, the only thing that we didn't get quite all the money we thought we would, so we would get rid of the atrium project for right now, but it might come back later if we can raise more money. So basically, this would restrict the use of the museum to be used as a museum for 20 years. So this is why we are really in there backing this, because I know you see the museum as a very vibrant part of Platteville, and we want to keep it as a museum, and we want to keep it as a place that people want to come and visit, and to make it accommodating, accessible to people who maybe have difficulty walking, make it wheelchair accessible, all of these kind of things to help other people out.
Questions of Dee?
I think back, on July 14th, we already agreed that we were going to, whenever it came up, so.
Right. So are you making a motion?
Yeah. So I move to approve the land use restriction agreement with the Wisconsin Department of Administration for the non-state grant for local projects and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Steve and a second by Kathy to approve the LoRa. Craig will vote.
Gates,
Yes.
Wisnap,
Yes.
Badger,
Yes.
Cop,
Yes.
McFall,
Yes.
Doss.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that ends the action items on our agenda tonight. We're going on now to information and discussion. Are we ready with TID 10?
In the works. Yeah, so this is council had previously given staff the authority to, or the go-ahead to start working on TID 10. So we've been working with Ellers and Delta 3 on the TID 10 project plan, at least the beginning part of it. So Brian is going to give kind of a preliminary phase 1 feasibility analysis of what we've come up with so far and kind of an overview of the TID itself. So let Brian take it from here.
So welcome, Brian.
Hello, everybody. Can you all hear me all right?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, great. Would it be advantageous if I shared my screen so that's just easier to follow along?
I think that'd be great.
Okay. Let me know if you can see it.
We can.
Okay, great. Thanks for having me here tonight. Just kind of want to kick this off by saying, recognize that this is, again, not an action item for tonight, just kind of going through where we're at with the TID 10 creation and initial feasibility to kind of look through if we're meeting all the legal requirements, how it's looking, economically, and then just be reminded that there will be a joint review board meeting, public hearing, which is held at Plan Commission or however you have typically held your public hearings for TID creations, and then City Council vote, which will actually be the creation date. And then beyond that, there's a final joint review board meeting. So if you don't know what the joint review board is, I'll just remind everyone that those are all the representatives from each of the taxing jurisdictions. So to kind of go over a quick background for anybody, tax increment financing is kind of the tool. When we talk about TID 10, we're talking about the tax increment district or the boundary. Really what this is an agreement with the other taxing authorities to say, we as the municipality have costs in order to help generate growth that you all do not bear. Can we borrow some of this tax revenue for a period of time? And really it's not borrowed because it won't really be repaid, but everybody will be back on their kind of normal taxing schedule when it closes. And I can kind of explain that on this slide. So kind of have a boundary, right? You pick some parcels. When you create the district, you have that parcel value kind of frozen. And then throughout the life of the district, typically these are 20 years, everybody keeps getting that same tax bill from the base value, but any increment or kind of new growth within those parcels, the city will collect, and the city will pay for statutorily eligible project costs. in order to help fund that development. So just kind of a quick graphical representation of what's going on. Looking at kind of the legislative items here, and are we meeting all of the criteria? It's got to be a contiguous area. It cannot extend beyond your corporate boundaries. We do have a map on a later slide of the area that we'll be looking at. The increment value of all existing tax increment districts plus the base value of this new district has to be less than 12% of your total equalized value. And with the potential district, you'll be at 9.36. So you're well under that 12%. And then one final item is this is a mixed use district, which basically says, at least 50% of the land area in the district has to be eligible for mixed use development, which we meet that criteria. And also there's some fun sub criteria that you're kind of limited to 35% of the total area for newly platted residential. It's essentially saying you can't just, do 100% of residential TID district, and that's kind of the point of mixed use, right? So we meet both of these criteria.
Hey, Brian?
Yeah.
A quick question on the increment value you said with this new TID, we would be at 9.36?
Correct.
What are we at now?
Without it?
Yeah.
Ooh, I can pull that up if you don't mind while I keep going here.
That's fine. Yeah, I'm just curious how much this increases it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yep. So there are some, notable eligible project costs written in the statute that I just kind of have outlined here. I'm really not going to go one by one through these. Kind of the biggest things to take away, though, there are some things not listed here. So one of the biggest ones is municipal buildings. So just note we can't really use it for, like municipal buildings. And then the other thing would be it has to kind of directly correlate to the TID area, right? And kind of promote development within that area. But they can also be within a half mile of the district. So for example, you might have a road that you need to either create or redo in order to promote development, and that road happens to extend beyond the boundary. You can still grab that road, if you will, up to a half mile of the district. And then there are other like utility projects, for example, that can be beyond that half mile boundary because you can't control where the treatment plant is, or you can't control where, a pump station is if it is serving that area. But again, it has to be, an attributable cost to that TID boundary still, even if it's outside the district. If you want to change this as you go, I know we're talking about creating, so why would we talk about changing it? But just kind of want to make sure everybody knows it's important to have a good idea of the boundary you want to do. We do have, some communities that'll limit themselves and then want to say, well, let's add area, let's add area, let's add area. You're only allowed to do that 4 times. So just kind of keep that in mind. I think staff has done a good job here of laying out a good boundary that covers kind of the targeted areas of development where they're looking. So, kind of anecdotally, you're away from what I just described. But if you do want to make changes to the plan, for example, we have project costs that we want to change or things like that, there is no limit to how many of those you do. Just note any amendment is the exact same process as a creation. So that costs money and it takes time. So getting to some of the feasibility framework here is just kind of understand that we've worked with staff to kind of look at, phasing of development. Does it meet the comprehensive plan as staff is giving us items? We're kind of reviewing your comprehensive plan in the background, ultimately trying to, decide certain development areas and what might go in there. In terms of the specific costs, we reviewed that with staff in Delta 3. If there are development specific costs that maybe the developers should be responsible for. We're going to kind of draft the project plan that the desired structure would be PAYGO. However, right, every development deal is different. You're welcome to agree upon other forms of financing. Just note we kind of draft our project plans that way to make sure that there is mutual benefit there and shared risk between the developer and the municipality. And then, if there's kind of bigger outside costs that we, want to kind of overall help the area, we looked at kind of debt instruments, knowing that you don't have the cash up front in the TID to be able to pay for everything right away. This is just an area that we're looking at here. So I don't know, Joe, if you wanted to add anything. Otherwise, I feel like this can just kind of be there for reference if anybody has questions. But I didn't have anything to specifically walk through here unless staff wanted to.
Somebody have any questions?
Has this boundary changed at all from your original?
Not since the council first saw it. I've gone through several iterations, but.
But not since it was
correct.
released?
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
I think that's-
Okay, great. Then if I'm not going to kind of go through this extensively, but the next part is just our economic feasibility. So we have the development assumptions that we've put together for various developments that might go on. But for example, just kind of talking through with staff in terms of all of them, the Honeywell redevelopment, not really knowing what may happen there. We didn't want to put down, a number at this point, and just kind of say, right, if those happen to develop, we'll kind of, make the JRB apprised as those potential developments, come along in terms of what the value might be. And then those values turn into tax increment dollars by, applying a TID tax rate to them. So the column in orange in the middle just identifies that. So quite simply, here the message, 28 million turns into about 9 million of actual TID revenue, based off of, several assumptions in terms of economic pricing, TID tax rate changes, and then that development over time. One notable item here is $9 million over the 20 years. Really you can only afford about 5 million of projects if it was all funded by debt. So just kind of taking an NPV look there. And then if it had kind of a taxable rate on it, even less so. So here, given that we didn't have any like development incentives as debt, right? We're saying it's anything would be PAYGO. For the majority, kind of our target project costs is like $5 million in terms of showing what we can afford at this time based off of these knowns. So that's what we've kind of developed here in the project costs. We want to be all encompassing so you don't have to go through an amendment. So what we do there is we do have more project costs than $5 million, but understand what we're going to kind of draft the project plan to say is that, these certain projects only to be executed as the increment is available. So really we're doing the feasibility to say, we're going to be tackling our near-term projects, but beyond that, the development projections would have to outpace what's in the project plan to execute them. But they're in the project plan so that we will be ready to do so. And again, you have an annual joint review board meeting for this purpose that you can say, hey, the TID can now afford, the Lincoln Street extension, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what the little footnote is here for. The yellow highlighting is only a note of just one more number we're waiting on from the engineer. So beyond that, just kind of talk about what PAYGO is, where essentially, right, you have the developer pay for the costs and then you reimburse them with tax increment. Just want to say that is kind of the recommended structure here. We only work with municipalities. We would highly recommend seeking this method whenever you can, so that you guys share the risk with developers. So we just kind of wanted to provide this as a standard in our feasibility presentation, that if all developers go to all municipalities with that expectation, we no longer have to fight this fight. So let's go local governments. Risk assessment, the other thing that I'll just mention there is make sure you have kind of any sort of development agreement, obviously well memorialized through those developer agreements, and specifically PAYGOs. So we just have some kind of recommendations. We don't always get brought in as your municipal advisor sometimes, so we always kind of keep this in as well. But make sure those incentive payments don't start or continue, until you have certain things completed, right? Because you have the building go up, you have an assessment year, and then you have a revenue year. So there's a 2-year lag. All parties need to understand that. So nobody's getting any payback until certain criteria are met, right? We don't want a half-built building and then pay off that with no money. So that's kind of what we're speaking to there. The other thing would just be, make sure that if, for example, might be harder for them to meet, the full development getting completed, you could do it by building, other phasing items there. So just kind of wanted to talk through that. This kind of goes on again in terms of if you're starting to look at development deals. Right now, we don't really have one for this TID, so I'm really not going to walk through this much, but more kind of a takeaway if you're kind of curious as you start to kind of assess any development agreements that come along, and we can continue that conversation when they happen. And then finally, I'll just kind of say the TID cash flows kind of by the 20th year here. One thing I'll also make mention of is there's a new law with Act 12 that you get that extra levy limit boost when you close a tax increment district if you close it within 75% of the time you originally said it would last. So I tried to explain that in layman's terms, but there is an advantage to, in a originating project plan, to say that a district is going to go 20 years, because you give yourself a longer runway to claim that levy limit boost at the end. So that's all to say. It just happened to work out that the numbers did give us that longest runway, but I just wanted to let you know that we're now under different rules in closures of TIDs with TIDs created after October 1st, 2024. So knowing that, I just wanted to kind of bring that up, that legislatively, we are kind of taking advantage of what we would typically recommend here, in that, the expected termination date would be 20 years from now. That does not mean you have to keep it open for 20 years. Again, this is not mandating any of the projects. This is not mandating any of the developments. This is setting forth a plan and a roadmap that you can kind of follow and execute as you would like, or as it makes sense. So by no means are you committed to the 20-year life. So any questions?
Questions of Brian. Go ahead, Bob.
Just have a question in trying to understand the PAYGO model, because if
Yeah.
the developer pays up front and we repay, or we pay back the developer based on tax increment money that we get from the new development,
Mm-hmm.
if it's not assessed enough that we have the appropriate amount of funds needed to repay, the risk goes to the developer. Where is the risk to the city?
Sure. You can have bad structured agreements. We see them all the time. So for example, you have, instead of kind of, a percentage of the actual increment generated, what we've seen communities do is say, we'll give you 15% of your total tax bill. that doesn't make a lot of sense because there was probably initial value of the property, whether it was big or small, right? But there was initial, so you're like giving them 15% on that original value, even though it may be small. The other thing is 15% seems rather arbitrary when you think about how the tax increment works. Let me just go, gotta zoom out a little bit to make this back here. Your TID tax rate may be less than 15% of the assessable value, right? Here, we're actually showing that may exist, just kind of with the continued phenomena of, fair market values climbing faster than the county or the city can levy. So the TID tax rate, which is much different than your actual assessed tax rate, but understand that if you're just choosing an arbitrary percentage, you could be saying, we'll give you more than actually the increment you're providing us. So that's where the risk can be with the city, really is kind of how is the deal structured? The other risks would be, I don't know why I apologize that this keeps jumping. Give me 1 second. Other risks that could be there is you could also say we will pay you, like you create the pay-go as almost like a debt structuring, right? There's a principal and an interest payment. Obviously they really have to hit their criteria in order to make that payment. But what we've seen is there's no protections in the agreement that if the development is delayed, that the accrued interest goes away. So I literally had one community come to us like 10 years into a deal saying we owe them $3 million of accrued interest, even though no developments happened. Kind of read through the agreement, and that is true. Like there was no clause in there to kind of protect you. So there's definitely risks on the city side. It's kind of how well is your deal structured.
Thank you.
Other questions?
And I can answer the other question that I couldn't see who asked it, so I apologize. In terms of, yep, you're at 8.35% right now.
So this would increase it about 1%.
Yep, it's only 10 million in base value of all of those properties on that map.
So, Brian, I take from this that you believe it is a feasible project to go ahead and create TID 10.
It definitely is. As I mentioned, I think the biggest thing to pay attention to is that, you're going to have to be careful in terms of on this eligible project slide. We're including, all of the identifiable project costs. It's kind of like a make sure we're, the increments available no matter what project it is, but we're literally showing that there's kind of 6 projects here that you could not afford right off the bat, right? So it's just kind of, and again, kind of should be the practice of all municipalities to kind of take this project by project to see if you can afford it. And that's why you can kind of continually update the cash flow analysis to do so, but definitely feasible doing the projects not with the footnote. And then if you get more increment, it would be feasible to do more of the projects, if that makes sense.
So for what's listed in 27, is that gonna, if we're doing extending Lincoln, rebuild Lincoln, as they're listed items 1 and 2 there in 27, is that gonna be sufficient to get our contract going?
Lincoln.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. The ones without the one footnote, and I know that might be small on the screen, I apologize. But the first 3 are all fundable. And then as well as this kind of middle one and the last 3.
Sure.
Because you set up 5 million would be a.
Yep.
I get that. I was just looking at it, and that's enough to get the developers to get going.
That's
They
enough
they
to
would
get
follow-
the,
they would follow on with that.
because that
Yep.
would be,
Okay.
that would be Lincoln Street, which
Yeah.
exists now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right, okay. I just
Mhm.
was wondering, I
Yep.
didn't want to commit into this and the developers say, hey, we're not going to do it until you get to item 8 or something.
Okay, other questions from people? So next steps, Joe and Brian?
We are gonna start, assuming you have no reservations, we would start scheduling the joint review board meeting, which is kind of step one. And then you would have your public hearing. And then it would be city council action after that, which is actually the creation date. And then beyond that, one more final joint review board meeting. We will be attending all of those on behalf of the city. So, if there's any questions along the way, Joe and I will be well apprised to kind of take those as we go. This meeting was just kind of intended to lay the groundwork, so you're not seeing it at the end.
And I believe that this council is pretty committed to moving forward with the development of this area. So I don't think you're going to find anybody on the council here saying, just a minute, I don't think we want to do TID 10. I think we want to, yeah. So that's why I asked for next steps. So yeah, that's good. Any other questions from anyone?
For my sake, can you just explain the 15-year issue versus the 20-year issue? I didn't quite understand that.
In terms of like the new law
Yeah.
that I was walking through, sure. So you essentially get current on your like existing TIDs that were created before October 1st, 2024. You get 50% of the ratio of your increment value to your total, TID out value when you close it. That's like a levy limit boost you get at TID closure. Now the rule is you get a 10% bump on, newly created TIDs when they close, right? So there's a 20 years from now problem, but you get a 10% bump, and it's only on the new construction within the TID. So it's not the full incremental value that's changed. If you close it within 75% of what you originally said the time would be to close, you get a 25%. So you go from 10% to 25%. So a pretty significant difference, depending on the value created in the district. But the point kind of that we brought up with the league when this was getting, thrown into Act 12 was, well, then all municipalities should tell their communities to, at the start, like, this is going 20 years and then try to close it early. And legislators said, sounds good. So just note, like, there's an advantage to saying a district's going to last 20 years at the start and then closing it early. So that was not intentional with this district. I just kind of bring it up anecdotally to note this is, one of the cities kind of, this might be the second district under that rule, but maybe it's the first district that we've been involved in the creation. So I just kind of want to make you knowledgeable of that fact.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep.
And of course, the levy limit is what's held constant unless we find ways, unless there's development and other kind of things. So, okay.
Yeah, and the benefit there is, right, you can't pay for like increased service needs within a tax increment district. So you are really relying on that levy boost, right? Because additional development may put a strain on services. And that's why there is that levy boost in the legislature. It's just the rules have changed. So we just want to make you cognizant of that.
Okay, any other questions? Questions from any staff members? Okay. Well, Brian, thank you very much. And we'll look forward to hearing from you and Joe as you move forward with the Joint Review Board and Plan Commission and public hearings, etc. I see that we have a formation date hoping by the end of September. I think the second
Correct.
meeting in September. And so we have about a 2-month window here to move through all of this. So good. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Brian.
Thank you.
All right. All right, then we'll go on to our next agenda item, which are amendments to Chapter 23, the Building Code. Joe?
Yes, this was all kind of came about as a result of us switching our building inspector. So we had Rick Whitaker, our in-house inspector for years, transferred to general engineering, is now our contract inspector. And as through that process, when they were trying to do their certifications and get their delegations, inspection delegations through the state said, well, okay, we'll just wait a minute. We want to take a look at a few things. And one of the things that they looked at was our municipal code, the building code. And there's some recommendations in there. They were working with general engineering on the review of this, and they have some recommended code changes for us to incorporate into our ordinance. It is our ordinance, but it's one of those things I don't know if we have a whole lot of choice in the matter. But it's basically, it's been a long time since we've done any modifications to this chapter of the code. So some of these are just bringing things up to current standards, references in the kind of the model ordinance that the state has for building ordinances, building codes. So a lot of it's housekeeping in that regard to keep the state happy. Other sections are, I would say, they're recommendations from general engineering. They do a lot of work in a lot of municipalities in the state, and some of their communities that they come across, they realize what works and what doesn't, and some language that they recommend that we also include based on their experience, to include that, to consolidate things, to make it a little bit easier to interpret and enforce. So that is kind of the bulk of it. There's a lot of changes in here, but I think they're, nothing really out of the ordinary.
How do we know the difference? What was recommended by the state building people and what was recommended by general engineering?
I don't know the answer to that because it all came from general engineering to me. So there was conversations that they had between the two of them. So I can't.
In blue, they provided.
Everything that's highlighted is the changes that came from general engineering. The one other area that I would like to highlight, and it's kind of an item that I wanted to bring up and general engineering wanted to bring up, I have it highlighted in yellow. It's section 2306 under permit issuance. There's a section on governmental bodies. So right now there's language in there that basically says any building project on behalf of any governmental entity, we would issue a permit for, but we do not collect any fees for that. So we did make a change, just kind of an internal policy a few years back as far as UW Platteville, that we no longer issue permits for those. We first of all, the state doesn't allow us to charge for those permits. They have their own inspectors that inspect that work, so it really made no sense for us to be involved in that process. So I just wanted to put that in the ordinance so it's clear moving forward that that would be the process. But it still has language in there about not charging for those permits. And generally, I'd say over the years that has not been an issue, but it did become kind of a apparent something that we should consider when the school district had the referendum and the major building projects that they had. I know Rick spent a lot of time doing inspections on that construction, and we received no fees for those permits. Going forward, general engineering, since they're a contractor, if they ever have a project like that again, they will be doing the inspections. We will have to pay them to do those inspections. We will not have any permit revenue coming in from those entities. So that's something we might want to think about. And in particular, I think back on the school district project again, and I know when I got calls from some of those contractors asking about getting the permit, and when we informed them that there was no fee for that, you could definitely tell in some situations they were surprised by that. They thought there was a fee, and I can guarantee you they charged the school district for that fee when they did their bidding. So they basically got a special little bonus at the end when they didn't have to pay for the permit. So I
Have you
think
checked-
that's something we want to think about going forward if we want to continue with that policy.
Have you checked with other area people who issue building permits for
They
schools?
talked to general engineering. They said that there are some other communities that they have that, and they got rid of it as well, or they kind of do at least with general engineering, they do kind of a negotiated price reduction type of a thing if it's a entity. But generally, they've been getting rid of those requirements if they come across them.
This is not a
Those
state
with general engineering.
Right.
That
Well, at
doesn't-
least the communities that they are working in,
That they're
those
working
communities are getting rid of them. Yes.
Okay, but that's not a statute flow down.
Oh, this is our ordinance requirement. Now, like I said, the state of Wisconsin has it right in the, there's a statutory requirement that we cannot charge them for a permit if we did issue it. I don't know if the federal government has such a thing or not. Would surprise me if they did. So if the post office ever did anything, we'd probably find out that we couldn't charge for it. So I think the school district would be kind of the main one that we would have to consider if we want to continue as is or make a change. I'm just bringing it forward as now if we want to make a change, now's the time to do it.
And UWP falls under state of Wisconsin?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
So I think it was a good point raised about how do we know what was ordered by the state versus the comments that general engineering put in there, because this is a change. I mean, we've only had them on contract for 7 months. And I guess
And I'd like to
I
know
would,
what it is.
nothing against them, but I would like to see their comment, what they inserted from their perspective, so that we can look at that.
Yep, I can try to get some more information on that.
Back to the other issue of paying for permits, I wonder if it'd be worth having some language in there because the purpose of the fees for the permits was to offset the cost of the inspections. And obviously the state won't allow you to do that because they do their own inspections. They're not subject to, so, other bodies, again, it's a matter of placing the costs where they, and the expenses together, so some kind of, something in there so that if we have this sort of thing in the future, that, because I can see why they put that in there in the first place was, to reduce the cost for the school districts. But if we still have to have, if there's no one doing the inspections, which have to be done, then someone has to bear the cost of those inspections.
So to me, rather than just say they'll have to buy a permit, we should say something about fees. I mean, because we in the city incur those fees too. I mean, that has to, city projects have to be in. And so, so that should be calculated, but maybe we should say something about negotiated based on the size of the project or something. Rather than free or you have to buy a permit.
Somehow tying the inspection to the permit.
To the
Yeah,
cost.
so you're talking about basically somebody's gonna, try and get reimbursed for the cost of the inspection.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
That
maybe.
we're not trying to make money off of it, but we're
Right.
not trying to lose money either.
Right.
Like, the
No.
inspection is needed
Yep.
and,
Well, I guess maybe an easy way, because I don't know if you recall, but with our contract with general engineering, how we set up the fee structure is basically they get 90%, general engineering gets 90% of the fee, we get 10%. I mean, easy way would we just waive the 10% and then we're only paying general engineering for their time involved. Not reimbursing ourselves for our administrative costs.
right, but we should state that in a way that we don't have to keep remembering that it was 90-10. We should state it in a way that,
To cover the contractors.
cover the
cost of doing
contractors'
inspection.
cost or whatever, so that if they go to 95, we don't have to come back and change an ordinance because it has a 90%, 10%, and
Right.
then we negotiate a new contract and it's 85-15, and they still get 90. That doesn't make any sense. And I don't know what you can do about the federal government. Yeah, I don't know. As long as,
Federal government projects because we don't do the inspections.
unless we have to.
Yeah, at this point, I honestly don't know.
Right now,
I
UDOT,
don't know, I've never had a federal project that I've really been involved with.
the state does its own inspections for its projects at the university, but there's never been a federal, is the only federal,
There's probably been something at the post office over the years, but I don't really recall.
but I mean, that's really the only federal property we have in town.
Probably not enough to worry about.
State provides their own inspections. We're really just concerned about school district.
And the city. Because it also says we as the city don't have to buy a permit and pay for it. But we have to have it inspected. And there's a cost to that. So the cost should go to the project. Okay, if anybody has, so Joe, you'll try to get back with us, showing the difference between the state recommended versus general engineering recommended changes. Okay. Next, then, on our agenda is the Emergency Communications Consolidation Update. Kaz?
Perfect. So in your packet, you can see the staff note to give a description of kind of where we're at with this study, the consolidation of dispatch services. On the next page, you can see an executive summary of that study. There are 2 pages involved that talks about the different facets that were assessed. So the current state of services, the staffing analysis, technology analysis, needs and impact analysis, and the governance and funding analysis. And then on the following pages, page 222 in the PDF, there are some discussional points that the council can consider tonight to just discuss. This item is not seeking action, and our lieutenant is here to give additional information. She wants to, Andrea.
You meant now. So ultimately, what we're looking for is some direction from the council in our conversations with the powers that be for Grant County, the sheriff, their county executive, and county board. There's been discussion about fees that will be requested from the city of Platteville for dispatch services from their center. And so that's something that is somewhat new to this conversation, as that was not what was recommended by Matrix in the study. However, there will be some costs, significant costs by the county to maintain their communications center. There will be some staff that will be added. And so we need some direction prior to applying for any further grants to do consolidation. Right now, we're in a holding pattern with our current Platteville Dispatch Center for hiring. We're short 1 dispatcher. We've been able to make some adjustments that are right now cost neutral so that we can still maintain 24/7 operation in our dispatch center. But that's not a long-term plan. So our dispatchers are definitely seeking other employment, while there is this uncertainty about whether or not we're going to consolidate. So I guess we need to have some discussions at the council level as far as finances, and if payments are going to be made, do we want to pay them to Grant County to maintain that service, or do we want to maintain control here in the city of Platteville?
I'll also note that the city met with county officials last week or the week prior to kind of discuss some of the details of the discussions that have been had. Selfishly, to catch me up to speed, our big ask was, in the event that there was a cost sharing, what did that look like? At the time, they did not have an answer, and from my understanding, they have yet to give us an answer, which is one of the guiding principles for you to make this decision. So I think that's the most important factor of this conversation, is what is the cost impact in the event that we consolidate. Another factor to think about is the customer service aspect. So Andrea, do you want to talk a little bit about a potential scenario in the event there is a consolidation, and what does that look like for the front desk area in the police department?
So we would add another full-time administrative assistant at the front, and our front office hours at the police department would be longer, not just the 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. And so there's still some things that we need to kind of figure out as far as what calls would be coming to the police department. Because in an effort to not delay services for our officers responding to calls for service, it would probably be easiest for all of those calls to run through the sheriff's department, where we would be dispatched from their center, as all other law enforcement agencies in this county are. And so there are times that there are emergency calls that come in on the business line. And so trying to delineate those things are stuff that are some things we still have to figure out. We're looking at probably a 7 a.m. To 5 p.m. or 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. that there would be staff at the front office at the police department to maintain some of the service that we provide now.
So you're talking about 7 a.m., ostensibly 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on the non-emergency line. I mean, I want to try to, I want to try to sort this down to like what we're really talking about. What we're really talking about is being able, the non-emergency line. You've indicated that sometimes emergency calls come in on the non-emergency line, so you'd have to have a protocol for handling that. But the level of service from the standpoint of a non-emergency line that the community is used to, being able to call that and do the whatever, conduct business. If we go with the county, you're talking about having to staff that. That's one aspect, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then the decision of how long you would leave that service open, whether it would be open on weekends, et cetera, correct? Okay. The next thing is, it sounds like the county they're not moving. That's what I'm getting from you, is that
I'm going to interject here. I'm getting really confused. Because when this first started, we had our first meeting sometime in May of 25. Because I sit on what was Law Enforcement Emergency Management, it's now Public Safety Committee. And I would go to those meetings and I would hear the chatter from the county side. Then I would come here, go to police and fire, we'd hear the chatter. And it was like, okay, so we have this little silo over here, we have this little silo over here. And it was sort of like, okay, well, they're saying this, and then we come here, and then it's, well, they're saying this. So that's why we pushed to have that initial meeting back in, we held it at the Sheriff's Department, the Platteville PD, Sheriff's Department, County Board. They were we were all in the same room and we had this great conversation, talking face to face. And it was sort of like, okay, everybody's sort of on the same page. We agree we need to move ahead. And then went through the process of doing that in the matrix study. We get those results. And now what I'm hearing is the same thing. City's waiting for the county, county's waiting for the city. I'm going to strongly suggest that Kaz, you as the Platteville City Manager and Nate Dreckman as the administrator for the county have a conversation. Because that, I mean,
Yeah, I
yeah,
guess.
what I'm concerned about is that it sort of seems like both sides are saying, well, we're waiting on the other one. And it's sort of like, okay, so who's going to move first?
Well, I think the biggest question for you as the council is to determine if you want to absorb the potential cost impact. And the fact that
You don't know
we
what
don't
it
know
is.
what that cost impact, I don't know if you as a body want to make a decision on an impact that you're not aware of or sure of. So our ask at our last meeting with the group was please provide that information so then I, as the city manager, can come to the body to say, hey, this is what would impact the budget. Do you still want to move forward? So that's my understanding of where we're at. But I'm more than happy to have another conversation with Nate.
But
That's-
what about the?
That's kind of my understanding of where we were at that meeting. Kathy and I attended a meeting. Kaz, the lieutenants and Josh were there. Howard was there.
Ryan was there.
Ryan, yeah, you were there. County people were there. The county IT guy, Shane, the sheriff.
Emergency management.
Yeah. Anyway, I came away from that meeting believing a couple of things. Number one, I believed that the county, the first sentence spoken by the sheriff, Craig Rukoff, was, our consoles are out of date, and regardless of what happens, we have to replace these consoles, which are their, what the calls come in on. And that was a big number. I don't know what that number is. I can't remember what the number was. Might have been $500,000 or $600,000. It was a big number. But he started out by saying, regardless, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but regardless of what happens, we have to replace these consoles. And there's a grant period, and we have to submit a grant by the 23rd of August in order to get those consoles. And then, to me, the conversation deteriorated to, how much are you going to pay for those consoles, which we already have to replace them, Craig is saying we have to replace them whether or not we're together. But then all of a sudden it's like, oh, but if we take you on, how much are you going to pay for them?
We have to replace them at both locations?
Well, if we go with the county, the consoles will be only at the county location. They would have one backup console somewhere, not necessarily in Platteville. It might be at the county administration building. It would not be at the same site as the current center.
I misunderstood because I thought that the police station had to be set up to be a backup.
That's what I understood too.
It's not mandated that it be at the police department. It makes more sense for our building and our dispatch center to be the backup because we already have a lot of the infrastructure that would be needed for it to be a backup.
But at that meeting, they said it doesn't have to be in Platteville. It just has to be at a different location. For instance, the county administration building in downtown Lancaster, rather than the public safety building by the nursing home.
They
for
just
lack
don't
of
want
a
to
better word.
co-locate.
Well,
I don't know.
And from
But-
my
but-
understanding, it's from an emergency management standpoint.
Right,
If one
they-
building is
yeah.
knocked
Exactly.
out, you
Then
have an
that-
additional
yeah.
location.
Which we've seen lately in
that makes
Manassas.
sense.
All right, so that was one thing.
Okay.
That I took away from that conversation is that they're gonna have to replace these emergency consoles. The other thing that we all need to know is 911 calls from cell phones go to the county, period. So if I pick up my cell phone right now and call 911, it is not going to Platteville Dispatch Center. It is going to the county. So they are already taking all 911 calls that come on cell phones. I can't say the same about if you still have a landline.
The landline calls come directly to the Platteville Police Department.
So for those people who are still operating a landline, and I don't know how many of those there are in Platteville, those come directly to the police station. One of the things that I said at that meeting, and y'all can correct me because I spoke on your behalf, I said, I believe this council would want to continue a community service component, face-to-face community service component at our police station. I mean,
But that's the
we would
non-emer-
want,
You're talking about the non-emergency.
right, but
number,
we would
not the
want,
emergency.
yeah, we would want for people to be able to go in. And I also
Yeah.
said,
Okay,
really, do you
Yeah.
want, when to the sheriff, I said, really? Do you want the call that says, I'm at the Broski and it's out of
Right.
toilet paper? I mean, do you want
Right,
this
no,
call?
I get that, but I want to let's try to stay in narrow
Right.
lanes for just a second. So all the cell phone calls are going to the county already.
Right,
Landlines are going here.
Right.
And for emergency, for a 911 call.
911.
So I'm trying to think of, from a decision standpoint, do we have a real serious problem with the landline calls now shifting over to the county, which I think is what would happen if we did this consolidation, correct?
But it would
Okay.
be all the landline calls, including the people calling from the Broski
Right.
who need toilet paper.
But what I'm saying, but
Sorry.
are they calling 911 or are they calling the non-emergency number?
They're probably calling 2313.
Okay, so 2313, are we already shunting that to, if I call from a cell phone and I call 2313, I'm going over to the police department, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so why is that's not a problem?
So is that,
I mean, the decision is associated with
911.
911, and and to be perfectly blunt, I don't see a problem with everything going to the county. They're handling probably 60% of the traffic. I'm wildly guesstimating how many people still have landlines in it. Do you have any thoughts on that?
So based on the study, it concluded that the consolidation center could accommodate the combined workload with their existing staff, but there is a recommendation for additional staff. So to
Right.
your point, yes, it can handle the additional or what is already in existence. Right now, you call from a cell phone, it goes to the county, then they bounce it back to us,
Yeah, okay.
essentially, right?
The initial analysis for the current state profile from Matrix was that Grant County could take all of our calls and not add staff.
911 calls.
All calls.
All calls.
Including the.
Yes.
Okay.
They could,
All right,
they
but-
could absorb our dispatch.
Okay, but the
function.
concern, but what I'm trying to get to is there's a concern here about us being able to provide services to our people on a non-emergency line. And whether it's good for that to go to the county or whether it's good for us to staff locally, correct? Do I have that right? Because it sounds like the county has the capacity or would add staff and could handle all of our 911 calls, which is the first line issue. But the other one is, it seems like there's some decision in here about non-emergency staff or a non-emergency line, and how do we handle that?
Sure. So I think at least the conversations that we've had with the police department is the idea where all emergency calls go to the county. However, banker hours, as chief like to put it, of service, so non-emergency calls or non-emergency walk-ins, there would be staff available at the PD to accommodate those questions and concerns, but it would not be 24/7. It would be just a duration of time. From a staffing standpoint, because I think it is also important, staffing for the city side, working with Chad, our HR manager, we feel that we can utilize the staff that we currently have. We would not, we would downsize from 5 to 3, 5 to 2, to help accommodate the thought process of having that customer service front facing. But again, it wouldn't be 24/7. But back to your initial comment, yes, at this point, based on the study, what the county is already experiencing, they can handle.
Can or can't?
Can.
Can.
And they
Well-
could handle, they handle our 911 calls already.
I may
Okay,
have misunderstood, Andrea, when you were speaking. Did I hear correctly that you said if we did consolidate that the Platteville Police Department would have to add one person and extend the days?
So we would add an administrative assistant who would be out front during those Monday through Friday hours
Okay.
to help cover rather than, I mean, we can't have one person out there covering 12-hour shifts.
So we'd
5
add
days a
an
week.
an
So we're
administrative assistant that cut back
restructuring. Yeah,
the-
so essentially the personnel that we have, we would restructure for what she just described.
Okay, so we wouldn't be adding a person to the total number. We would
Correct.
be adding a new assistant, but
We
cutting
would be,
back on the dispatchers.
we would be shifting some of the roles and responsibility, changing titles essentially.
Okay.
We wouldn't be hiring for dispatchers. We
Okay,
would
so it
be-
wouldn't be a cost.
Correct.
But then if we're talking about, and that clarifies a lot, but if we're from a council perspective, it's my understanding from early on that the console that we currently have is nearing end of life. So if we do not, when we're talking the costs of everything, if we do not consolidate with the county, what is the cost to the city to upgrade that console if we continue on the way we are? Because I want to say Barb's right. I think it was somewhere between $300,000 and $500,000 to replace a console.
Yeah, so some of the numbers that were identified within the study are capital costs, not necessarily reoccurring costs. So yeah, to your point, yes, in the event that the city does not consolidate, there would be a capital cost associated with updating that console. However, in the event that we do consolidate and we go to a model where we're not dispatching, what we have currently will suffice for a duration of time.
So it sounds to me like there's some immediate things that we're looking at, because I'm looking at the council direction requested, should the staff continue discussions with Grant County. I don't know that we can really say that because we don't have the right information, but it seems like we need some kind of estimated cost to Platteville, which would be, for if Grant County is asking for our input, our fiduciary input into this, we need to know what they're asking, right?
Absolutely.
That is
So-
part of it, and one question that the county has is, I mean, it came up, and I'm not gonna pretend that I understand it, but there is a possibility between the city and the county to shift levy. And it's something that is a conversation that can be had, but it would have to be approved by the state. But then if we would do that, if we'd follow that path, then basically it's, I think they even explained it, that meaning is sort of like a wash.
Well,
And I don't understand what shift,
that
a
means
shift
we
of
tax
levy.
left. We tax less, they tax more.
That's what it sounds like.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, so.
I'm not familiar with that, sorry.
And I-
Why?
You're the one I was gonna ask next.
Well,
I'm not familiar with that program or that state
That concept.
sanctions process.
Well, I think the bigger question is, I thought at the end of that meeting, in fact, I was surprised when I looked at this, because I thought we had kind of agreed, I thought all of the people in public safety at that meeting, based on, and frankly, many times the conversation went to the disaster at UW Platteville in May of 2025 and how that disaster pointed out the insufficient intercommunication and coordination among these agencies. And so I thought it was pretty, I mean, Andrea and Ryan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought it was pretty well at that meeting. People were saying, you know what, we need to find a way to do this. We need to get this on track and find a way to do this because it's a matter of public safety. It is not a matter of, yes, it's a matter of money. Yes, it's a matter of other things, but it's really a matter of public safety. And we don't, not that we will ever have another incident of that magnitude anywhere in the county, but certainly if we do, we don't want to repeat that scenario, is what I heard. And if I'm wrong about that, you say so.
I agree completely.
All right. So I think there's a belief on the part of public safety personnel that we need to move this down the road. And I frankly thought we were going to have more information from the county in terms of a binding resolution and all kinds of stuff, because in order to apply for this grant, which I thought Bob Keeney was like, this will be done.
But that comes back to, I believe it would be in the hands of our county administrator.
Well,
So the thought process is tonight, this council meeting, we are having this discussion to keep you up to date with the efforts that staff are conducting with the county. In the event that we do get that resolution from the county, you will see it at the next council meeting. Because the body is accustomed to a discussion and then following that council meeting and action, that's kind of what this is tonight. Unfortunately, we do not have the resolution at this time, but you should be aware that there is a likelihood that you will see that resolution at the next council meeting for action to continue discussion. And what that resolution is for is essentially the city moving forward with consolidation to allow the county to then apply for a grant that helps fund their new console stations at the county dispatch center.
Okay, so what you're saying is we need to just say we're on board. And then they'll go for the grant.
Yes, so the council would pass the resolution that's one of the deliverables that the grant requires for them to apply. And it's for capital costs for their dispatch center.
and just so everybody is completely aware, and I bring this up all the time, we as citizens in the city of Platteville have been paying through our Grant County tax levy for Grant County Sheriff's Office. Just because we had our own and paid additional, but we have been paying just like everybody else in the county. So we didn't get a reduced rate. We didn't get any county reduction because we had our own dispatch center. We paid fully for the county dispatch center and we paid fully for our own. So I think, there has to be a bit of an understanding that for years we've been paying our full share and maybe not getting all the service everybody else has been getting.
Isn't that what this shift of levy could be?
No, the shift of levy
mean-
means it takes money from us and gives it to the county.
And based on our analysis internal, what we would need to still continue that front-facing customer service aspect, we're not saving any operational funds. So there would be no savings that we could then give to the county based on personnel costs.
Okay, but we wouldn't have to replace the dispatch. We
We would save on capital
our capital
costs.
costs would go down.
That
We
would be the
still-
city's savings on
Yep.
future capital costs. But I think there's this
Mm-hmm.
misunderstanding that the thought process is the city is going to save all this money, and that's not accurate.
I appreciate what Barb said. I think that needs to be, I don't know whether that was explained to the joint committee, but that probably should be put out there. to the
So
joint committee.
another thought, for instance, with the personnel that we currently have with all the turnover, we've had to shift some funding. So for instance, we started with 6 positions, we're down to 5, and we're having to pay accordingly. So while we are down 1 position, we're not saving money because we're then having to put it amongst what we currently have. So I think just know, even if we're going down in personnel, that doesn't necessarily mean we are saving. And I think that was the thought, at least my understanding.
Sounds like you're saying we're short-staffed, so we're covering 6 with 5.
Correct.
Okay, so we're covering 6 with 5 right now. If we did consolidate, eventually we'd have some number of admin, but it might be 2 or 3.
Yes, yep. So the thought process, Chief, it's really important for him to maintain what makes sense, what we can afford, and also having a landing spot for those that will not have a place at the city, but potentially could have a place
Yeah,
at the
I
county.
get it. So you're basically reorganizing, you're not losing the personnel. Is what
There
it sounds
could be some that we do lose, but there are conversations internally. Andrea, if you want to speak on that.
So
I'm not dictating, I'm just asking.
in our conversations with the sheriff's department, one of the recommendations is that they hire additional staff. Because there isn't a mandate at this point in time, but it is likely coming at some point in time to institute what's called emergency medical dispatching. Requires you to have at least 2 people on staff 24/7, so that one of them can focus on that medical call. So that's where the additional 2 full-time and 1 part-time person for the county comes in to play for their additional staff. And so we have had conversations with the sheriff's department that any of our current dispatchers, if they would be interested, would have preference
Sure.
for those positions.
That makes sense.
And that medical dispatch would be total county. That's just not because Platteville's not doing dispatch. I mean, it has nothing to do with, it has everything to do with dispatch and nothing to do with the fact that you have 1 or 2 dispatch centers. They're gonna have to do that whether or not we combine.
At some point, yeah.
With Matrix Consulting Group, I'm not exactly sure what they're doing, because have they?
They're done.
They worked with municipalities who combined with counties before, and were they making recommendations as far as splitting costs and how it's been done in the past from their experiences?
They didn't get into a very detailed, I guess, description of how costs are shared. Their recommendation was that right now the county doesn't charge any other municipalities or police departments more for that service. The city of Platteville is paying for that service, and their recommendation was that they not, I guess, request additional funds for that.
So, and this additional information that we would like to get, they're done, so that won't come from them as.
I think Matrix issued their final report, right?
Yes, correct. So Matrix is done. So essentially, we're waiting to get the information from the administration at the county based on their personnel costs.
At one point, Mark had suggested that a second study be implemented that would give a costing framework, that because Matrix stopped short of that perhaps the next idea would be to have, again, somebody independent do a costing breakdown or study or look and come back with, so it's not us or it's not that, it's not a this or, it's not an us or them, it's not a we or they, it's a recommendation, but probably, and time consuming.
Yeah, delay everything.
And that's right here in the, outstanding considerations, operational responsibilities, financial impacts, cost-sharing methodology, if any, grant funding, intergovernmental.
Mhm.
That's all.
Yep, outstanding,
Didn't do.
yeah, that they didn't do.
Again,
Well, I think the upshot is we need to continue this discussion, and I think it's a public safety discussion. And I understand that. I don't want to put our people who are involved in public safety in compromised positions. And frankly, that's what we've heard about in the, that happened. But there was some, yeah. For lack, I think that's enough.
So I know Chief will continue conversations with the sheriff. I will reach out to Nate to follow up as well, and we'll continue the conversations, and then the council can expect potentially a resolution at the next council meeting, potentially for the application for the grant that the county is pursuing.
resolution would be along the lines of, do we want to proceed?
Correct.
Are we in?
Yes, and so my hope is to have more information from the financial impact at that point, is the hope.
I would say is, as you get information, stream it so we can start considering it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, I believe we're at the bottom of our agenda. And nobody brought ice cream, so I don't think we're gonna have. However, I would take a motion.
We're back to food.
Back to food.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Steve and a second by Brian that we adjourn. Craig will vote.
Gates,
Yes.
Wisnet,
Yes.
Badger,
Yes.
Cop,
Yes.
McFall,
Yes.
Doss.
Yes.
Motion carries.